Hey everybody, what we're going to do here is look at the state of gold in foreign currencies and where we're at. So kicking off with gold in British pounds. We've got an arc that's been forming since around about July of last year. The arc has several touch points on the way down. Well, one here, another one down here, and more recently the lows in August. So we have an expanding wedge pattern traced out by these dotted lines. And this support line as well, which if you follow back through the recent lows, acts as a pivot line with acting as support and as resistance. So is a pivot line that goes all the way back to the middle of 2020. So a little bit of downside possible on here, down to maybe 1240, a little bit lower, 1238 if it was to fall vertically, but more realistically, perhaps somewhere in the 1250 to 1260 area, so not much below where we are at the moment, in fact. And the arc, were it to play out, would guide us up to over £1,500 later on in March or April of next year. Gold in euros, what have we got here? Well, we've got another arc, and we've got touch points on the arc on the left-hand side, again here, down to the left of the center point here, and a more recent spike here. So it would be good to see this touch the edge of the arc somewhere in this area here, around about 1470, 1480 euros, and then a breakout to the upside would confirm that this is playing out and that we're going to achieve the arc target perhaps in February or early March of next year. Gold in Canadian dollars, also a pennant formation here, shown by these dotted descending lines. And we've got a horizontal support resistance line in here. Price probably coming down somewhere to between 2160 and perhaps 2190, 2200, something like that. Could envisage price coming to test the edge of the arc again, perhaps in this sort of pattern. I'll just draw in a couple of lines. There's a bullish expanding wedge developing there. So we could see that touching the edge of the arc sometime in mid to late October, perhaps. And then we could argue that the arc is in this position here, and we have already seen the lows, but I think I'd prefer to play it cautiously and just put the arc in that position. If it turns up sooner than that, then great. The main breakout line to look for is this sort of area here, around about 2290, that kind of area. That's gold in Canadian dollars. Gold in Australian dollars, Aussie dollars, also an arc, a couple of touch points on the entry here and here as well, and then down near the base on the left hand side of the base, and now on the right hand side we're getting touch points, and Aussie dollar appears to have actually just put in an arc touch point. I don't think it looks right if we try and extend the arc further to the right, so this one fitting nicely at the moment, and is perhaps leading the rest, and sees the arc reaching its target perhaps right towards the end of this year, in fact. So quite a rapid rise is signaled by this arc. If it plays out, if it doesn't develop into something different, I mean, it looks like a valid arc in play here. So it is what it is, as long as the support line on the edge of the arc holds. So we'll continue to monitor that. Very little downside, maybe 2390, which is what we've already recently seen, and we're up to 2415 already. So gold in Japanese yen, also an arc formation, surprise, surprise, and this guiding us up by March or April of next year. A little bit of a downside is possible, down to 188,850, something like that. We're at 194,000 yen at the moment. So that's also confirming the same general technical analysis chart pattern. Gold in the Chinese yuan, another arc. I've drawn it to the wick on these candles just to be ultra cautious, and it looks as though it's perhaps heading for another arc touch point somewhere in the 11,100 to maybe 11,200 area, something like that. Again, you could argue that the arc comes in here and we've already seen the low, but I'm not going to guarantee that. I'm kind of stretching it to its maximum extent just to be cautious. And so that would guide us up to its target in March or April probably of next year. Gold in Indian rupees, another arc with touch points on the entry, and just here after we sort of rose rapidly and then came back down to start putting in this arc. Another touch point down near the base, and this is probably another one that's just occurred now. Can it extend a little bit further to the right? It could do just a little bit, not very much though. So the downside is very limited, and moving up to this area here by perhaps March of next year, 150,000 to 151,000, that kind of area, and the previous high up around 155,000, so that's quite plausible. And of course the US dollar, very similar looking chart, a little bit more downside plausible on this one to around about, well, it would make sense if it came down to around about 1725. Doesn't have to, it can start turning up here and move up from this point onwards, but I think 1725 is perhaps a bit of a magnet point. Just playing about with the support and resistance lines here to see where best to fit them. You can put this on the weekly chart. I think that's probably why I positioned that line where it is. It fits better on the weekly chart. So that's it, a whole load of arcs going on and a lot of arc resistance, arc support lines to monitor as we go forwards through the next few days and weeks. So fingers crossed these continue to play out to the upside. So plenty more to come as we go through the coming days and weeks. So that's it from me. Speak to you again soon. Bye for now.